It's the Omid and Kojo Show.
Yeah, go on. Hello and welcome to the Omid Kojo Show live. And today you're locked in. Fucking, I don't know, man. Just fucking
So let's
talk about some stuff.
lock down. Let's lock down and chat, guys. All right. So today we're going to be chatting about some flips and that. Omid, first off,
What?
why didn't you explain why we're 15 minutes late and what you've been doing?
I was at Aldi.
Wait there.
So I went to Aldi and there was people kicking off because someone needed to call a taxi, and I was just stood there looking vexed. Everyone was going crazy, and like all of the people that were like working there for some reason couldn't just, you know, what is it? Scan the things that people are buying. Everyone went over because everyone was kicking off, and I was just like, can you, please, my life is way more important than you kicking off about a taxi. I need to go. But no one listened and no one understood. I made an announcement and everything.
So that's why we're 15 minutes late today.
Yeah,
Someone said, I love Kojo's accent, especially when he says tutorials.
tutorials.
You do
say. How have I never noticed that? You say tutorials.
I say tutorials. I say years. I say think with an F.
I know you say
with
think.
an F. I say everything with an F. It's just how I'm doing it, you know.
Yeah.
It's how I do it these days.
Yeah.
Keep it real, you know.
Yeah, keeping it 100.
Throwing out Fs every day.
Right, okay. I wanted to talk about some things. I wanted to talk about conveniently beers and tricks.
Go on then. What do you have to say?
So Kojo and I were talking the other day about how, I don't know, pressure and like kind of expectations when you're training can kind of ruin everything. I mean, for me, I know Kojo doesn't feel it quite the same way that I do, because obviously everybody would experience this kind of thing a little bit differently. But some of the best sessions of my life have been when I've got way too drunk the night before and I'm hanging and I'm at a gathering or whatever the case may be, and I start the session and I'm just kind of sluggish and I've got no expectations, but they end up being great sessions because I'm just like, whatever happens, but I've still got the power. So I wanted to discuss like how, obviously not just the hangover sessions, but like how expectations kind of affect your training.
I feel the same. It's like not all of the time. Like sometimes I have no expectations and I go to sessions and I'm like, yeah, that's why. And it goes terribly. But there has been plenty of times where I'm really not expecting much from myself. It's normally like the morning after at a gathering where I've tricked a bit the night before, tried to go hard, and I'm like, oh, I just mess around. And you kind of just doing some flips. Mm-hmm. And that's normally when I end up tricking best. I found that sessions when I'm kind of, for power stuff, like I've done lots of my best power stuff, not when I'm having a session where I'm like, let's go like super hype, forcing stuff out. But when I'm kind of in like a giggly mood, when I'm just messing around. Like at Trick Strong, I remember I was like drinking beers out the back with people because I wasn't planning on tricking, and I was just kind of messing around. But I was just doing like cork dub swing. I was like swinging out of it every time, and I did a combo to raise dub, and I was just, because I wasn't taking it too seriously, I wasn't like, oh, I need to do this combo to raise dub, trying to like focus my brain and like go for it. I just kind of thought, oh yeah, I'll just try this, and I was just doing it and did some best tricks ever.
But it can go the other way. Now,
I
mean, actually drinking and training is a whole different thing. It's obviously, it just ends up being like you're at a gathering and everyone has a couple of drinks or whatever.
Well, there's a sweet spot. There's
exactly,
definitely a sweet spot.
But like, I'm not recommending that people go and drink and then trick, because it's not the move. But obviously, if you put a bunch of idiotic men with beers and a spring floor like 2 meters away from them, they're obviously going to end up doing flips when they're drunk. So do you remember the session at Euphoria where I started the session and opened a bottle of wine and then I was drinking the wine throughout the session? That session was amazing. I had so much fun. I was drinking my wine. I was listening to the music. I was just doing my flips, and it was great. But
you're gonna have 10-year-olds stealing bottles of vodka and showing up.
No, don't do as Omid and Kojo do when we're talking about things like this. Just a quick disclaimer: it's not the move. We're idiots, but yeah. Anyway, it can go wrong because later that day I'd stopped drinking, and later that day I had a session and I ended up getting injured. And it's not because of the wine. It was just because I landed something kind of wrong, and I still tried to force it because I was just in one of those kind of moods, and it ended up being the thing that kind of messed me up a little bit. So yeah,
you got to
be careful. Yeah.
Yeah. One of these comments, this leads me on to something really interesting. Actually, are expectations and planning what you're going to train the same for you? So I'd say expectations is kind of, that's what you think that you're going to be able to do at the session. Like maybe there's a combo that you really want to do, and if that's quite a hard combo, then that's not really planning, because if you plan, it's one thing to plan to do that combo, it's another thing to expect to do it. Like I'd say you can plan without expectations if you have multiple contingency plans. I try to do this quite often, where I have like a plan for what I'm going to do if I feel really good tricking, a plan for if I don't feel as good, and then a plan for if I feel rock bottom. It's always good to have that fallback. Even if the fallback is me just doing raise and trying to do it as perfect as possible. If you have that, then you don't feel bad about like your other plans not going so well, because you've always got something you can fall back to. It can even fall back to just stretching. Like if I have an injury, when I plan my session and I have some kind of injury going on, I keep it in the back of my head that if I'm not feeling good, if the injury's hurting, I'm just going to stretch. And I see it as a win. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have an hour-long stretch. That's good. That's going to do me a lot of good, instead of thinking about how I didn't have a good session.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, like, I think, well, there's not really that much that I can add to that, because obviously I kind of view it the same way. But I see expectations as like kind of multifaceted. It's kind of like you can have expectations in the one sense where you go to a session and you expect to be able to do a certain level of thing, or you can go to the session and expect to not be able to do anything because of your body. Now, it's like you can rest, and you when you're at 100% rested, like if it takes you like 3 days to be completely rested, then you can go to a session and you can still end up having a really bad session. But if you go to a session and you know that your body is destroyed, you can end up having a good session, but there's a reason as to why it's not going to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, I think it is completely different when you expect to not be able to do anything because you've done all of the tricks prior that have caused you to be so fatigued.
I think if you have too many expectations / plans, if you really, really want to do something too bad, I think the reason why that can lead to you having a bad session is because it makes it much harder to get into the flow state. It's much harder to really be like focused in on your tricking, because you're thinking about this combo that you want to do. You're not just enjoying the tricks. And when you're just enjoying the tricks, that's when you end up doing your best things normally. Yeah,
no, I'm with you on that. But let me just put this light on. Give me a sec.
Yeah. Brandon says, it's like waking up day 2 of a gathering and somehow kicking out gas, even though you woke up dead. I've experienced that many times.
So many times.
I've had some of my best sessions. Well, most enjoyable. That's when I have my most enjoyable gathering sessions, because it's not just my own expectations. I feel like the expectations of others can throw you off as well. Yeah. If people are expecting me to like throw down, normally it makes me not want to throw down. I don't feel as focused. It like puts me off. But I normally trick best when I feel like no one's really watching. So in the morning when everyone's like exhausted and like just dead, I normally trick well then, because no one's paying attention. So I just like get into it.
I find it really, really difficult. Like it hits me so much harder when I'm at a gathering, especially if I'm a guest, because if I'm having a bad session and I'm not doing things that like, because I've had sessions at gatherings where like I can't do things that I could do on concrete. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have those really, really bad sessions, nothing's working, you don't know where you are. And that hits me so much harder, because it's like you've got an audience watching you be the worst you've been in a long time. And I hate it, because it like, if I have a session like that at home, or just with like, you know, in a different gym, but with like
You just go
people that I
home.
know. Well, no, it's not even just that. Like you can generally kind of recover a session, even if it ends up just being like a super fun session where you just do, I don't know, barely any like serious tricks, but you just work on strange things. But at a gathering, if you're trying and trying and trying and you just feel like you're getting nowhere, I find anyway, my mind kind of goes down this path where I'm like, I need to do better, and then it makes me worse because I'm putting all this pressure on myself, and then all of a sudden it's just like the whole thing's going to shit, and then I'm in a really bad mood. Granted, not for long, but it just frustrates me when I can't do good tricks, and everyone's
Yeah.
watched me be ass.
Well, you're pretty good in battles though, which is weird. So do you feel like because if people are watching you battle, they're expecting good tricks. How does that affect you?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of outweighed by like actual adrenaline. Because like when I'm just having a session, like there isn't any pressure. Like in reality, there's like if I bail the trick or I don't do the combo that I'm trying to do, I can just walk back to the corner on the floor and do it again. Whereas in a battle, you can't do that because it's like you got that one shot. So there is real adrenaline, and also like I put a lot more kind of, because of the environment, like I kind of build it up more so in my head because I'm so focused on actually doing the tricks that I know I can do. It's like I'll have both my headphones in, I don't speak to anybody, and I get really in the zone because that's the only way that I'm going to minimize injury. And I don't do that quite as heavily when it's just normal gathering settings, because like if people walk past and I haven't seen them in 2 years, then it's like I can't just be like, oh, I'm warming up, like don't fucking talk to me, you know what I'm saying? Whereas with a battle, I think it's a little bit more understandable.
Yeah, people want to give you your space to like get focused for it.
Yeah. But
that's fair.
how do you find like now, like, because I feel like as you progressed mentally, I feel like now you'd probably be, I'm not saying do it because I know it's not something that you'd be interested in doing, but I feel like now you'd have a pretty good, I think you'd be one, better at just performing at gatherings as a whole and like kind of blocking everybody out, and two, just kind of being able to battle but not having the expectation and being so aware that you don't want to force something that you won't.
You got to remember, I've had good battles before, and I've tricked well at gatherings before, especially UK ones. I normally trick good at UK ones. Like,
I'm not saying that
tricks I did my first 103 and all, you know. But the main thing is, it's like Brandon mentioned it. Guest expectations, like, because if I'm a guest at a thing, it just puts even more pressure on, and it's like you can rationalize it and be like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'm just doing the tricks I'm doing. I've been injured. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm trying to stay safe, but it still affects the way I trick. So I guess I'm still working towards that not affecting me and not making my sessions worse. Because I used to have a lot more fun tricking at gatherings before people knew who I was.
Yeah.
Kind of ruins it a lot for me. For me personally, I know it's different for different people. I don't overly like people knowing who I am when I've not met them. It's weird for me, but it creeps me out a bit. But it's
I get
fine.
that.
It's part of my job, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that I overly want, to be honest with you. But because the thing is, it's like if I could just do the things that I want to do and also wear a mask at all times, then honestly, I think that would be the best kind of approach, because you could just kind of, I don't know, it make things a little bit easier. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it's just like it's part and parcel of it. But going back to what Brandon said, now the time that he's talking about there in Colorado, he said, I remember you being injured in Colorado in like 2015, and I still love chilling and drinking coffee with you. Now, that makes me super happy to hear, because like that's one of the hardest things that I've ever had to deal with, that instance in particular, because that was my first ever real injury. It was the first time I'd ever been flown out to America as a guest, and I was just really like, I was so focused on being great at tricks, and then it was just like all of a sudden I couldn't trick at the gathering at all, and I was in agony, and it fucked me up. Like I didn't know how to deal with it because I'd never had anything like that. But yeah, it was something that I feel like you have to kind of go through it a couple of times before you can kind of, I don't know, get your mind ready to be able to deal with that kind of thing in future. Because now, if I was injured at a gathering, it wouldn't bother me anywhere near the same amount, because I'd be happy just trying to like chat to people and getting to know people, and it's not just about the tricks.
Well, you get used to it. I feel like after a certain amount of gatherings where you've had injuries and stuff, then you kind of change your perspective on it. The tricks stop being the most important part of the gathering. Like for me now, my tricking's unaffected. Like I don't miss tricking at gatherings. I barely even miss tricking with people at sessions. Tricking's pretty much just as fun if I'm doing it by myself on the grass. What I do miss though is like hanging out with people at sessions and hanging out at the gatherings. Yeah, I do miss that bit.
I miss that part of it, but I'm with you as well. Like, yeah. Oh, I love that. Good to see Scott Browder is going to cause trouble. Scott Browder can't go anywhere without causing trouble.
Yeah, Scott Browder at Neo 2018. After hanging out with him, then I was on the roof with my broken ankle in a boot. So, yeah.
I met Scott Browder at that first gathering that I went to in Colorado in 15. Oh, it was fucking. He's one of my favorite people. He sends me messages and stuff, and he's just such an insane character. I love him. He's great.
Oh, I do love to. I've missed that this summer, not having the various tricking characters.
Yeah, I miss that vibe that you get, and like the kind of, I don't know, that anything can happen. Yo, we should talk about the different. Have we talked about this before? Like the differences between like European and US gatherings.
Not on this, I don't think. No,
we're not. Because like you and I, because obviously we've spent a lot of time in America over the years and stuff, and we've also spent a lot of time going to European gatherings. And there's one key difference between European gatherings and US gatherings, and that's that in the US, absolutely anything could happen at any given moment, and the people there are so insane that you never know. You can guarantee that someone's going to end up on a roof.
For sure.
The police might be involved. Everyone's going to get like out of their mind, and it's just going to be a lifetime experience that you're going to remember.
Well, I guess you see that at European ones. I was going to say you might see some people naked, but that's
the Europeans do that well.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just completely different. Just the way the Americans are, because the Europeans, especially in Scandinavia, are very reserved. In Finland, they just like to whisper to each other. Brandon says we actually got Kojo on multiple roofs in multiple states. It's true. It's true. I've been on so many roofs in America. So many roofs. Someone keeps asking if I'm African. I'm not African. Well, I guess we're all African at some point, if you go far enough back. But no, not African.
Yeah. I miss being on roofs. I've been on many roofs in America as well.
Yeah, it's one of the best bits of the gathering, when you just with a little crew and you're on the roof, having some drinks or whatever. It's always a good time.
Oh, we've had some. You see, it's crazy. Like just thinking now, like of all the ridiculous things that we've experienced, like just the rooftop exploring.
It's just because Europe's just way different. European gatherings, and yeah, you'll probably have drinks with people, but it's probably going to be contained in the gym, or you'll go to a bar or something.
Yeah, I think the big thing is the weather.
The weather as well, yeah.
I think it's because like everyone wants to be outside because it's like stupid warm, no matter where you are in America, pretty much throughout any of the major gatherings.
In the summer, it's because they're all in the summer.
Yeah. But like but even in the summer, in the on the continent, it's not that. I don't know. It's nowhere near as warm as in any of the places in the summer in the US. And then once you're outside, anything can happen. Like you know that it's not a far cry from getting on the roof and just someone doing GMS and stacking it on the roof,
and then the police showing up
just like outside,
and then taking a 4 a.m. trip to IHOP to avoid the police. Did you leave the gym? We're talking about Trick Strong Gathering 2017, by the way.
Yeah, we ran off.
The police showed up. You ran off as well. Who else were we with? Was it Renato?
I feel like, we went to the gas station and we were trying to get. The IHOP was closed.
Yeah. And there was a trolley at some point.
Yeah. We got on the trolley, and then we were sat outside at like 5 a.m. at this 7-Eleven, just like devastated because we were so hungry, and we just got these awful burritos that were overpriced, and they tasted like feet.
Yeah, we were
Oh,
so
it's
hype
bad.
about going to IHOP, and then ended up just having 7-Eleven, 5 a.m. burrito. Bad time.
Oh yeah, it was a bad time.
That gathering was a good time though.
Yeah,
I feel like my favorite gatherings have been the American ones. Like I've had some really fun ones in Europe, but America, I just like how I just don't know what's gonna go on.
yeah,
Someone's like, you might be on the roof of a car and someone's driving it. Like that doesn't happen in Europe.
yeah.
You know, it's just not as mental in Europe.
I miss that about just kind of, I don't know, just having a house and traveling more, and just like, I'm so excited for this lockdown to be done because I'm trying to be on top of things. Like it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a
Go do
car
some shit.
or outside a club. Like we were in DC and I got that flag, that enormous gay pride flag. Oh God.
We need to move. You need to come to Portugal with me.
Yeah, I'm about it for
Be
sure.
hype.
Yeah.
I said, Neo is just survival. So true. Neo
Yeah.
2017. So the morning after that gathering, we had to drive to Colorado. I straight up, this is no lie, no exaggeration, I slept for 19 hours. Of the 22-hour journey, I slept for 19 hours. I think it's the longest I ever slept.
That was the worst journey of my life.
The worst what? Journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the best of mine.
Yeah.
I was chilling. I was
I
loving it.
hated it. I was driving, and that tour in particular, like remember when I was in the car and I was driving across the desert initially with someone who had what was it? Was it his he had like a ruptured spleen or some shit. What was
His
it?
appendix.
His appendix.
Yeah. So a guy we were traveling with, his appendix exploded. His name's Malcolm from Utah.
Yeah, and his appendix exploded, and then we got to Vegas, and he was like, "I don't feel so good," and I was like, "Yeah, you should probably do something about that." And yeah, I don't know, that whole trip. Driving
He went
across
to the
desert
hospital. That was the same trip when I stayed up for the longest I'd ever stayed up.
Yeah,
And were you awake the whole time as well?
I was, but I didn't come out with you.
Because so the same day had a fat session in Utah, did a Ratful Gainer Switch triple cork. It was pretty hype, and then we drove all night, but we were like talking all night to the Grand Canyon, and then we like chilled at the Grand Canyon a bit. Had the most tragic, what was it? Was it like brunch?
Yeah, I don't know what time it was.
We went to a tragic diner, and everyone was half dead, and we couldn't form sentences. And then we drove to Las Vegas, and then we went out in Las Vegas, and I was sipping on pre-workout, and it was like pouring down my t-shirt as I was trying to drink it, because I was like this, like just trying to get it in me while I was falling asleep. But then I had a second wind, and we were out till like 6 a.m.
Well,
Good time.
That was the day I slept for the most. Okay, so you slept on that journey, and I slept the most in like a 48-hour period after that, because we went to this diner. So we went to the Grand Canyon, and I tried to sleep in the car, even though I hadn't slept for like 30 hours. Tried to sleep in the car just when we got there because the sun hadn't even started rising yet. And just couldn't get to sleep, stayed awake, went to this diner. I fell asleep with my head on the table, waiting for my food to arrive. And the actual server had to wake me up because I was just asleep with my head on this table. And immediately afterwards, I had to drive to fucking Vegas. Got there, and obviously I had a session opportunity with Michael Guthrie. So I was like, all right, so it's got to be done. But that was pretty big mistake because I had an awful experience. I did do some interesting tricks, but I just slept for like 22 hours after that.
Dedicated Omid went to the session after being awake for nearly 3 days instead of coming on a once-in-a-lifetime night out in Las Vegas.
Oh,
but it was a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I
was doing switches in the casino.
I don't
They were the
regret.
most messed up switches I'd ever done. Like the worst I'd ever felt while doing switches. I managed to do 3 as height.
I think that's one of the only things that I regret about any of the
tour.
trips that I've taken. To be honest with you, like because to be honest with you, it was fun, and like we went to Denny's or something and got food afterwards, and like I don't know, I just got to like kick it with people, and I didn't feel like going out and getting fucking hammered or whatever because I was so dead. So I was just like, fuck it, I'll just do some tricks or whatever. And also, you know what it's like when you're deliriously tired and
Yeah, you don't. I didn't want it. I hadn't considered going out on the night. I was just looking for a bed. Through the whole day we were in Vegas, I was just hoping that I'd sleep. But then it got to like 4 or 5, and me and Kyle had some beers, and we were having a heart-to-heart and drinking beers outside of the gym. And then, I don't know, it kind of led to going out.
Well, for me, it was like, you're like this as well sometimes. Like when you went to that fucking thing on New Year's Day, like once you have this idea in your head, when you are like disabled because you've had no sleep, and you've just got this idea in your head and there's no other option. I was just like, well, I've got a session. And it didn't even enter my mind that I could be going out or whatever. But I really do kind of wish that I'd have just fucked the session up and just got out.
Yeah. Should I tell that tragic story?
God, please.
Well, as many details as I can, you know. But so after running home on New Year's Eve from wherever we were in town, after running 5 miles home at 4 or 5 a.m., then I woke up at like 8 a.m. and I'd already booked a coach journey to Sheffield, which is 2 hours away.
Now, bear in mind as well, it's
What?
not like he was going to miss out on like a crazy experience, or he was going to lose a bunch of money. I think he spent like £12 or something on this coach journey.
But I hadn't been able to train in the gym for about a week. And at the time, I was pissed. I was like, it's Christmas time. Like over the Christmas period, the gyms are closed. I was like, I got to train. So woke up, got on this coach to Sheffield. And then I think I had to get like another train with to the gym. Went to this gym that was about a quarter of a floor, and it had like holes in as well. And there's like 5 people at the session. Everyone's really tired, just doing a couple gainers. Tried to do tricks, could barely do anything, and then I traveled 3.5 hours home. So that was one of the most tragic days. No, but it wasn't just that. It wasn't just that. I wanted to get home faster. So instead of the coach, I got the train. But I got caught on the train, and I had to pay £40 for a ticket. I remember it had different levels to it that day, dude. And then after I'd spent £40 on the train back to Birmingham, I was like, it was already late, too late to get the bus, and I still had to get home. And I was like, well, I'm not getting a taxi now. I've just spent £40. So then I walked home from Birmingham, which was 4 miles.
Nah, you didn't walk back, did you? Was that the time?
I'm pretty sure it's that. I'm pretty sure it's that day. Now, weren't you like unavailable? I feel like that was the same day. Feel like that was the same day. Okay. Because I remember not wanting to spend money on a taxi and just being like, fuck it, I'm walking home.
That day, listen, so Kojo and I were in pretty similar states the night before. We were both, in a bad way. And then that same day, I woke up at like midday. I tried to eat 1 bite of pizza. I had a whole pizza that I'd ordered and didn't eat when it actually arrived because I fell asleep. And so I tried to eat it, and my mouth just couldn't, like, I couldn't actually consume the food because I'd been so fucked up the night before and kept falling asleep. So about 8 p.m. is when I started my day. And I remember Kojo coming through the door, and he barely said anything, and he just kind of wriggled up the stairs, got in the bed, and just passed out. And the next day, I had no idea what had happened. I didn't know where he'd been. I forgot he was going to Sheffield. I was like,
then you heard the story of my day.
Oh my God. It sounds like the worst.
No,
but going back to the original point, this is what I meant. Like, I had this idea. I was like, okay, I've got a session with Michael Guthrie in a small gym with like a bunch of people that's going to be interesting. And I'm like, no, I'm going to power through, even if I haven't slept in 3 days. And I've been living off of coffee, beer, and fucking pre-workout. I'm going to make something happen.
Diner food.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Oh, we had some good times at the old house as well.
Yeah.
I just remember, I don't know, I feel like whenever I'd go out for whatever reason, if it was like a work thing or something. So whenever I got out and I came home and I was drunk, I'd always just waltz into Omid's room and I'd like wake him up and mess with him in the middle of the night. That's what it was like living with me, just so you know.
Yeah. I mean, we all had our fair share of that. But I don't know, you'd run off to your parents if it was ever too much. Like at New Year's when you were sick. No, at Christmas when you were sick.
And there's 30 people in the house.
Yo, I was telling someone about that the other day.
Beats downstairs.
I was telling someone about that. It's so crazy thinking about. Do you remember when the bird flew into my room? I had a bird fly into my room and land on Vivian Yulu's head. It was such a crazy experience.
What time? Oh, we got Lionel.
Right, King Lionel.
Oh, yeah, Lionel's experienced my snake thing. So in the night, sometimes I wake up in the night because I think there's a snake in my bed. And I freak out. And sometimes it happens when other people are around and it freaks them out. I've done it. You know, I did that at the Bat House. The California Trigger House. I've done that before there. I'm pretty sure I've done that in Alex Hunter's room.
That's so
I think it was spiders that I fought that time. But, yeah.
Oh, there's I remember one time I hadn't seen you do it for several years, and it was the very first house that we had, the coop. And I remember walking out to go to the bathroom, and you were just like pacing around on the landing, just like really stressed out. And I just woke up, and I'm like a useless person when I first wake up. And I remember having to like literally like walk you back to your bed and just be like, it's okay, just lay the fuck
What did I think was going on?
I feel like it was, I think you were looking for something. I feel like you were looking for like an item as opposed to like an animal. Because I remember the first time I stayed at your house, at your parents' house.
I ran over, turned the lights on. Yeah.
I was sleeping on some like futon in Kojo's room, and he woke up horrified and literally darted across the room. I woke up like, what the fuck is going on? And he's fucking literally turning the lights on, looking for these snakes in the room, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on, brother? And then ended up being fine. But yeah, many experiences with Kojo's night terrors.
There's demons. There's demons in this life.
Oh, it's reminding me of all these. I don't know. Obviously, yeah. I do
miss the old house. I miss the ratchet house.
Yeah, me too.
True garrison.
Yeah.
Well, I like the fancy garrison as well. That was great. But I also miss the ratchet house. I miss us having the house parties and stuff. It's good fun. And just me. I remember starting the day, like just a couple of times. I started the day by getting up, opening my window, and diving out of my window onto the trampoline.
I used to dive.
Like, this is going to be a stunt day.
I used to dive out of your window so frequently onto that trampoline.
Someone says, who was the worst roommate in the garrison?
It wasn't really like that.
Like bad. Everyone's just. If you've lived with people, then you'll know it. There's just difficult things about every person.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's got different things that can be challenging to other people, including ourselves. Except for me, because I'm perfect. No,
except for perfect Omid.
No, but for real, it was. I don't know. We were so lucky with that house. Like we barely. I don't know. It could have gone so many ways, but we ended up just having a great time. We didn't have any problems.
For 3 years, we had that house.
Yeah.
3 years.
Years. 3 years.
What tricker goes the hardest at tricky people's parties? All right, out of the garrison, who goes the hardest at the party?
I'd say you generally.
But sometimes.
Me.
And Kyle does as well, though. Sometimes.
I feel like it's more rare.
It's probably me. I get the most excited.
No, it is you, but like
If
think about
anyone's going to be picking people up or running, then it's going to be me.
yeah, but
So
think about we have had okay. So a lot of the time, I have to make sure that Kojo's under control because he doesn't realize his own strength.
make sure I'm under control. I'm the warden of the house party. I tell off the group. I'll tell off 30 people. I'll tell off 30 people. You know.
Okay.
I'll make a speech. I'll get up on something and I'll make a speech.
But sometimes Kojo has to calm me down because I don't know what it is. Occasionally, I just get it in my head. I want to be paralyzed. I want to drink so much that I just want to paralyze myself.
I remember you getting vexed at me before because I was trying to get you to drink a cup of water, and you were just so angry. I was like, "Can you just?" You're like falling over. I'm like, "Can you just drink it?"
Hey, listen. If it's not the captain, then I don't want to know. I want Captain Morgan to fucking set sail.
That's funny. It's funny talking about this because I haven't been anywhere near close to drunk since I can't even remember when. Was that Hooked? Since Hooked, I haven't been drunk since Hooked. Since the Saturday night of Hooked. That's a while. It's like 5 months.
Yeah,
6
that's a long
months.
time. Yeah. Someone said, if you had to add one tricker to live with in the old Garrison house, who would you have wanted? Now,
Lionel Jeweler.
Yeah, it's got to be Lionel. It's always a ride with Lionel.
Who else? Who's from the new school? Which trickers? It's quite fun when we had Alexander Anderson round.
Yeah.
I feel like not much will get done if he was
Yeah,
there.
he just missed most things.
He'd be asleep. We'd just be chilling too hard.
Maybe one of the Cali guys, just because in terms of like, I don't know, in terms of like livability and also like being cool and being able to like do tricks, there's a lot of people where just because they're great at tricks doesn't mean to say that I'd want to live with them because I know they'd end up being hassle.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that's the majority of trickers, honestly.
What about Dilk?
Oh, no, Dilk could be a good one. Yeah, I could live with Dilk.
I feel like if Dilk had lived at the Garrison, he'd have been the ultimate wild card. I feel like
100%.
Other just random things would happen. Like one day I'd come home and there'd be like a homeless man in the house drinking with Dilk or something. His guitar mate. I don't know. Or
he'd turn his entire bedroom into a cockfighting ring. Dilk said, which trick has the worst sense of personal space? Ooh, you remember that guy in Sweden?
Oh, yeah. This guy in Sweden. So there was this guy, this muscular man in Eskilstuna who used to he would stand like this far from you when he spoke. But it was like he was taking the piss. It was like it was a joke. He was just like, hey, man. And he'd leave really long pauses. How you doing?
Oh, do you remember the other guy? Do you remember the other guy in Sweden? Yo, the Swedes have got some strange, there's a lot strange characters.
Yeah, weird Swedes.
Do you remember the guy that was like, I was sat with my like legs kind of open, just sat on a chair, and he came and put a leg either side of my leg and like, do you remember? And there's that picture of all of us. I got everybody together and I was like, we need to take a picture. There's a picture of everyone just kind of smiling and doing whatever. And this guy's obviously like leaning on me. And I'm like, just kind of looking at this crazy dude. He was following me around all night. Yo, that was the same day that I woke up and I had my face painted.
Oh,
do you remember when Mons did that?
When Corkson was in blackface. It was that. I don't know what was going on. He was just going around the streets of Eskilstuna in blackface doing flips.
And then I woke up at 6 a.m. I went to the bathroom and I must have gone to sleep at like 4 a.m. And we were just in some weird school that we were for some reason sleeping in. And I went to the bathroom and I was just like, I just took a piss and just looked in the mirror, kind of rubbed my eyes. looked at my hand, and I was like, what the fuck? And I had my face painted. I was like, I cannot look this way. No.
I remember, it's weird where tricking takes you, because of tricking, then we've slept in a school in Eskil's tuna.
Yeah.
You know, like who'd have thought it? I never would have predicted that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's cool though.
Yeah, it takes you to some interesting. Where's the weirdest? I know the weirdest place I've ended up though. The weirdest experience, like situation. I've already told you about it,
What?
but Jesus, someone on a quad bike outside. The Tricks Rail gym. So
when you were completely alone.
for some reason, so I was arriving at 4:30 a.m. to Israel for this gathering, and they thought it'd be a great idea. He was like, "Oh, do you want to stay at my place or do you want to sleep in the gym?" And I was like, "Oh, your place sounds better." And he said, "Oh, but if you stay at my place, you're gonna have to get up really early. I'm gonna have to go to the gym at like 8 or 9." And it was already like 4:30 in the morning. So I was like, "Okay, I'll sleep at the gym then," assuming that there'd be other people at the gym. And they took me to the gym, which is above 2 empty lots. It's on the 3rd story of a building. The 2 stories below, abandoned.
In the middle of an industrial estate.
In the middle of an industrial estate I've never been to in Israel. There's a hole in the fire exit door, and like, here you go. They just dropped me off, just by myself. First night there.
Oh my God.
Just that point when I made my little bed out of the dusty mats, I was like, what has this come to? You know, how have I ended up in this situation in a rattly 3-story building by myself in an industrial estate in Israel?
I think some of our most tragic experiences have been in Israel. Mine was just like before I'd even got out of the airport. So I was flying, and I remember I was just like, I want to go to sleep, so I'm going to get a little bit tipsy. So I'm going to drink this red wine because it's free. And I just kind of kept drinking red wine. And I ended up talking to one of the air hostesses just because I kept going back and getting the wine. So I was talking to her for what felt like maybe like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So I go back down to my seat, and I'm pretty waved at this point. So I get back to my seat, and I close my eyes, and I'm like, oh, I finally get to sleep. And I start drifting off, and I wake up around 2 minutes later to the announcement that we were landing. I was like, what? So like 6 hours has passed or some shit like that. And so the second I'd opened my eyes, I've got a hangover, obviously. Because when you sleep for 2 minutes after being drunk, you get a hangover. So I get off the plane, I'm exhausted. It's like 5 a.m. their time, and I'd been traveling all day. I get to the passport thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And the guy's just kind of staring at me all funny. And I'm like, I didn't think anything of it because I was exhausted. And I was just like, oh, whatever.
He'd already clocked the nose, though.
And he was like, he didn't ask me any questions or anything. And he was just like, okay, that'll be all. He was like, and I went to get my passport back, just kind of glanced up. And he was like, no, go over there. And he was like, I'm going to have to keep your passport as well. I was like, hang on, this ain't on. I ended up getting detained for like 8 hours. They wouldn't let me go anywhere. I was stuck in this fucking random airport in Tel Aviv, and there was just like a bunch of other people there, and they were like, oh yeah, whenever we come here we get detained for 9 hours. I'm like, what the fuck? What? I was furious. I started getting really arsey with the people that were interviewing me. They were asking me about my dad's dad, and then when I got out of the airport, had to go and sleep on someone's couch, slept for like 2 hours, and then had to go to the gym. It was fucking awful.
Omid going on like a prisoner of war or something.
Dude, it was ridiculous. They wouldn't let me go to the toilet. I had to argue with someone to let me go and take a piss.
I know your answer to this. I don't know about mine. Like, would you go back to Israel? Because I don't know if I could be asked to go back again.
Well, okay.
I didn't go to the Dead Sea, though. I would have liked to do that, but
I would like to go to the Dead Sea again. And there's still some other things that I would like to see. And also I'd like to go over to Jordan. And I feel like that's probably the best opportunity to do so. So you go to Israel, go and do I want to do the Red Sea. I really want to see the Red Sea and maybe the Dead Sea again. But then I would like to go to Petra, the ancient city of Petra, which is just like a whole city carved out of like the side of a cliff.
That
Or
would
like
be cool.
Yeah, it's just
So
like
maybe
it's
like a
super
tourist trip.
Yeah,
I
mainly.
feel
Yeah.
like my tricking trips to Israel behind
No.
me.
I wouldn't mind going for the gathering and then just staying for a little while after.
If you had some kind of arrangement, because the whole thing of just not having anywhere to sleep.
Well, it was fine. It was fine last time for me.
Because you had an arrangement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. I really that was actually one of my favorite trips last time I went to Israel. Like me and Kyle there.
Kyle's there. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was super
I went with Kyle. I went with Kyle.
You went the year before, didn't you?
Yeah, the first time I went was better in terms of it didn't like because my back was also messed up the other time. I'd hurt it like the day before climbing a tree, and I could barely move. Yeah, that whole time when I
remember getting that
in
message.
the gym by myself, I could barely move. My back was like destroyed. I thought I wasn't even gonna go. I tried to like get out of going because I was like, "Yo, guys, I can barely walk."
Yeah.
But I ended up going, and then they put me in a gym by myself.
Didn't you fly to America immediately after that as well?
Yeah.
Dude.
And I'd just been in France. I was in France the day before. That's where I hurt my back.
Yeah, climbing a fucking tree in France. Had to go to Israel the next day.
I was doing all these tricks.
Well, dude, I had the reverse of that actually. I didn't even realize that. So me and Kyle flew directly from Tel Aviv to Paris to stay with Vivian, but Kyle got the worst end of it. So Vivian didn't realize that Kyle's flight was arriving at the time it was. So Kyle got there and it was like 5 a.m. or something, 6 a.m., waiting for Vivian to collect him. And he just didn't turn up. So Kyle had to sleep on the floor and Charles de Gaulle just fucking hated it. And he had all these bags and stuff and like, dude, that was a pretty tragic experience.
Just think of him all hunched against the wall
with his big fucking back.
Oh, poor Kyle.
With his backwards back. Oh god. Yo, so what do you guys think? Who do you want to be involved in the Omid Kojo show live when we do actually get to do it together?
Yeah, because we're gonna have different people on, different guests or not.
Give us
whichever triggers.
Who do you think would be interesting? I saw Ethan Turner in here before. We should definitely get Ethan Turner in at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Get him involved.
Yeah, get him talking the talk.
We gotta get Alex Hunter, Anderson. Someone said Sando. You could get Sando in it. That'd be funny.
Sando's one of my favorites.
Bailey.
Bailey.
Baby Black.
Baby Black.
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff, imagine. Oh god.
Or we could we'll get towels in, have the terminology talk. I don't know. No, towels is all right when you talk to him in person.
Maybe he'd have his internet hat on though. I was really shocked the first time I met Towels. I genuinely didn't expect, because I thought he was just going to be mental in person as well. But he was just super calm, super subdued, just chill dude. Yeah. Oh, we'll get the famous Plan Zero in for sure.
Yeah, Mr. Platinum. Who else you guys said? All the classics. Dermot O'Leary. Yeah, we'll get Joe Pasquale in as well. And,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to get
Hugh
Susan
Dennis
Boyle in as well if we can.
Susan Boyle. Imagine though, we messaged her and we like pulled it off. Susan Boyle in the live stream. There's like 20 people watching.
Oh my god, that'd be great. Oh yeah, we'll definitely get the Ohio boys. The Ohio boys are amazing. I love them.
Richie says Neve. I don't know about Neve. When she give her a few years.
Yeah, when she's a grown woman, maybe.
Gandhi, Drumev. Yeah, we'd get Drumev. He'd probably be naked.
Yeah.
Eduardo. Any female. We'd get Ashley Adams. Get the Scarlet Tricker involved. Could get.
Imagine all three of us on the live.
Which women trick? Gabby.
What kind of question is that?
There's just not many that trick.
Oh, if we could pull it off and get Mackenzie Emery.
There aren't kids as well. It's getting the balance so people know who they are. They aren't kids and they trick. There's not that many that fall into that category.
Oh, I'd love to get Mackenzie Emery in.
I don't know if she'd be down. To be honest.
I don't think she would. Imagine we just somehow pulled it off and just got like Anise and Jeremy and Danny G and all these G's just from the old school.
Well, I don't know. I've been thinking I think we should just keep doing it. If we just keep doing these little talks for like 10 years, then we'll probably end up getting everyone in. No, but that's if you just keep it on the back burner. We just keep kind of doing these. We get better at them. Yeah, we get David Seaman on one day. We got like Ronaldinho, Elon Musk.
End up getting Zinedine Zidane on talking about his headbutt.
In the future, we have like former President Trump on and stuff. We just got to keep doing them, and then eventually, you know, if you build it, they will come. That's what I like to say. That's what old Kojo likes to say.
Former President Trump. Oh,
imagine we had Trump on.
Get Gordon Brown on.
Also, get James West on. He's a nice boy.
Yeah, he is a nice boy. Lovely
nice
fella.
Boy. Yeah.
Get
Pablo knows what's up.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to bring an additional element into the Omid and Kojo show.
Yeah, yeah. It's just this bloody lockdown, isn't it?
It's a lot.
The old lockdown. Yeah. What are you cackling about?
I'm just getting this whole situation.
Just all these characters.
Yo, we should get fucking
Shaquan.
Jesus is my blessing.
Oh, if we got Shaquan in this, I would love that. I'd love that so much.
Yeah, we can definitely get Kate and Ohashi in. We'll talk about we'll talk about her doing like a 6 foot jump into the splits. Dude, I don't know how she does it. She does it time and time again. It looks, even though she's incredibly flexible, it doesn't look safe.
She's just spreading it out across her whole legs, like equal impact.
Yeah.
Who else is a good character that we could get involved? I know we get Velu in it. Velu's watched some of them before.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
We got Rasmussen.
Yeah. Dylan said, "What happened to your mustache?" I'm fed up with people asking about my mustache.
It's gonna be like 10 years later. No mustache? Just every time they see you.
Oh god.
Or Pinto Johan. That'd be a funny one. Flip Light Z. Yeah, there's so many characters we can go through. So I think when we start doing them, these are going to get a whole lot more interesting. We'll get all kinds of maniacs in.
I think they're interesting anyway.
No, well, we've just been talking about drinking today.
Yeah, that's fine.
It is fine. Yeah. That's what
I don't know. I feel like I think it gives. What do you guys think? I think it's more of a real look and like an what is it? Where you don't uncensored. There we go. It's like an uncensored version of what
goes
really
on,
like.
tricking gatherings and stuff.
Yeah.
Living in a tricker house. Not that they're all. Well, they are. Most of them are more extreme than ours.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Come on.
They're pretty ratchet.
Ours was probably the least ratchet tricker house that I've been to anyway, and it was still ratchet. Is the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as long as Willie D's happy, then I'm happy. So yeah. Let me know, Willie D, what you think.
Oh, Willie, just keep throwing that discus as far as you can. Is that the Willie?
I think so. Well, I think Willie D's a legend.
Willie D is a legend.
He's an OG.
Should I get a discus tattooed on my arm in memory, even though he's still alive?
I don't know about that. I don't know.
You said he's a legend.
Well, Pablo Trick says, yeah, comes across very honest. It does, because that's the one thing we got going for us. At least we're honest. We
authenticity.
might say stupid things all of the time. At every moment. Any moment in time we'll be saying something stupid. But at least it's honest, you know?
It's because it's real. It's what we are. Like, our real conversations are ridiculous. Like, there's even... Whenever there's pauses, they're ridiculous, because there'll be a pause in conversation and we'll be walking or whatever, and then someone will just be like, You don't
And then
get
I'll
that.
tell you that
You don't get that from anywhere else.
I'll tell you that you got that yummy, and, you know.
I'll call you a.
Only you and Omid. I don't. Scar asked if I tell everyone that they got that yummy, but it's just you two. Don't worry.
Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed that you say it's a Scar. I thought it was just me.
I'll fight you, man.
Oh,
At
Colonel.
least promise Colonel Mustard.
Yeah, I didn't realize till I sat down that I was double mustarded. But it's okay. It's okay because I sat down, I put it on, and I was like, you know what? Double mustard. That's the route I'm taking it these days.
If you get a little bit more tanned as well, you're just gonna become one with the tea and the
The
cat.
mustard man.
Oh,
Aaron-
the famous
Aaron
Aaron
says-
Skelly.
Aaron
Oh,
says
yo,
good boots.
We
Nice,
should
nice.
definitely get Aaron Skelly in. We get him talking about his running. Have I told you
Yeah.
about this, bro? He
Yeah,
did
yeah. He told me about his running as well.
3 fucking half marathons in a
Yeah.
week.
He's a nutter.
Maniac. Oh, I need to do a half marathon soon. Feels weird not running today.
Let your legs rest. I'm gonna get on it. Okay, we can make this a thing so we can both talk about it as well. What's the app you use? Is it Strava?
Rather, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna start running and looking after it.
Sick.
Kojo's just he said Kojo's just promoting the business, and I thought, what? And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, got the KTL colors, you know, official KTL cap. We like to keep it minimalist, you know, no branding, just
No, it's
just
actually
mustard.
UV printed. So whenever you
Got a big
shine a
rat on
UV light on it, it's got an enormous rat.
Disgusting rat.
Yeah, it's really realistic. Yo, I saw the biggest rat I've ever seen the other day. I think I mentioned to you.
How
but
big?
It
Show
must
me
have-
with your hands.
Okay,
Show me with
it
your
must
hands.
have been about this big. I'm not even joking. It was enormous.
It's like a big rabbit.
It was crazy big. Like I thought
Jesus.
it was like something else because I was like, you know, when you first see something and it seems too tall, I was like, there's no way. But his back was fucking, dude. It was
Oh no. Well, we haven't even talked about the old rat situation in the original Garrison before. We used to have. I used to get rats in my bedroom. And I plugged the hole. I plugged the hole with like socks and stuff. Came home, my bin's turned over. The rats have got through again. I was terrorized by rats. Sometimes I'd wake up in the night, flip the bed because there's a rat in my room. And bear in mind, it was a tiny box room. You couldn't fit like a double bed in there. And there's rats running around. It was a bad time. I
Oh
wasn't.
my God.
And this went on for months. This went on for months. We were like, oh, we need to do something about these rats. Jesus. And then we eventually called the council. They came the next day for free and solved it. And we were like, why don't we just live with rats for free?
No, they didn't just solve it. What they did was they left rat poison in a bunch of different locations.
Oh yeah, and then there was the
And then
flies.
the
There was the
rats
plague.
died. And then they didn't remove the bodies. So the house just smelled of dead rats.
Yeah, we couldn't get to them. And then one day, suddenly there were like 200 flies in the house because they'd all erupted. And there was, so after that day, the flies left, the smell left. We were back to normal. It was all good. It wasn't all rat infested. It was only for a short period of time. All right.
Oh,
But don't get it twisted. We don't have the plague or anything.
well, there was one time I was in. I think it was like it might have been one of the first times I was in the house completely alone.
Omid,
What?
we got 10 seconds left.
All right, fucking.
Peace.
Anyway,
Nice
long
chat.
story short, I saw a bunch of rats. They were all staring at me. I closed the door. She put something in front of the door and ran